Switch to 4. EC7 report.
In Arlington, Virginia, a bystander capturing the moment it all went down.
Yeah, take a look at that. It all started with a parked car that suddenly burst into this gigantic fireball. The fire then spread to a few other vehicles. Investigators say the explosion was caused by a ruptured fuel tank. Amazingly, no reports of any injuries.
I wonder if it was a ruptured fuel tank on purpose. Who knows? That was a spectacular. How'd you like to be in the parking lot? I wonder how many, it didn't say how many other cars got damaged by that. But that was a pretty nasty explosion. Here's a Southern California crime report. Of course, here is a road rage video. ABC7 again. Here we go.
With a hate-motivated attack after tracking him down from a video that went viral on social media.
Hey, man, tell me all you want to.
This video recorded just yesterday by a truck driver on Sand Canyon Avenue near the 5 freeway. Police say it shows 54-year-old Robert Tackett yelling at the driver, who's Hispanic. He follows the victim and shouts racial slurs before throwing a cup of hot coffee into the victim's window. Police say they saw the video online yesterday and they got in touch with the driver. They arrested Tackett this afternoon.
Don't throw hot coffee. There is one thing, unless they've changed the laws, so don't go by me. The only two things you can throw or drop on the road are water and chicken feathers. So if you if you rolled a cup of hot water, and I'll tell you the water in the windshield incident. Actually, well, I don't want to say. One day we'll tell you that one, but that was a pretty good story. More mayhem going on. AutoZone got hit in SoCal. Here we go.
On this Saturday morning, LAPD officers are securing an AutoZone store in South LA after it was looted during a street takeover. It happened around 1:30 this morning in the Green Meadows neighborhood near the intersection of Central Avenue and Century Boulevard. Now, police were responding to the street takeover when they noticed the looting. They then entered and cleared the store.
This is the first, and I don't know, why are they attacking AutoZones and 7-Elevens? You don't hear O'Reilly's or Circle K's. This is kind of weird. Why is it just 7-Eleven and the convenience stores and AutoZone on the street takeover looting scene? That's something to be investigated. Another explosion going on. Here's one. A truck explodes. We thought, well, that one's not going to play. We'll get back to the crime report. Encino again. We reported this last week. It's still going. There's a big crime wave in Encino. Encino is one of your biggest real estate valuations in Southern California. Ain't many po folk in Encino. Here's a CBS
Encino, where a pharmacy was burglarized early this morning. It happened on Balboa Boulevard and Clark Street. It's just the latest issue in the neighborhood that's recently been plagued by break-ins, robberies, and murder. KCAL News reporter Tina Patel is live near the pharmacy, where many are now concerned about their
break-ins, robberies, murder. What the hell? In Encino? No wonder they're hiring their own private cops in Encino, and believe me, they can afford it. Dudes living in Encino, the income's probably about like Beverly Hills. Next one up, that ain't all. More from Encino. Encino on the A.
Where there are reports of masked men making off with boxes after a burglary. What the latest is from neighbors who are wondering what it's finally going to take to get this issue under control. The News at 5 starts now.
Remember when we had in the Overlook area, another high-income area in Riverside area, Woodcrest, kind of in between there. They were hitting the Richies. This can happen. Do not let this happen in the Inland Empire. These guys are going to move out here next. That's what they did. They hit it in LA, then they work Orange County, then they come over here to Riverside, San Bernardino. They just kind of go circulate around. This crime wave going on is absolutely fantastic. Here's another one from Fox 11. Deadly shooting inside a 7-Eleven. Here we go.
7-Eleven store in Lawndale. Mario Ramirez is live at the scene with the very latest. Mario.
Bob, right now we're working to confirm exactly what led up to this shooting, but we can tell you that deadly shooting led to a homicide investigation underway right now, happening here at this 7-Eleven in Lawndale. And detectives with the LA County Sheriff's Homicide Bureau on the scene. They've been focusing inside the store near the front, where we also saw dusting for fingerprints early this morning near the cash register. They've also been taking extensive photos.
So again, what's this deal about 7-Elevens and AutoZones? Seems to be more than a coincidence on this stuff. We're going to get ripped again. Catastrophe modeling is what they're calling it on homeowners insurance, which means grab your ankles because you know what's coming next. CBS 8 report from Diego. Here we go.
And set their rates could mean higher premiums for homeowners and renters. California will now allow these companies to use so-called catastrophe modeling. CBS 8's Richard Allen.
What a con. Well, why don't you just say we're just going to keep jacking the insurance rates up till you can't afford your home? This is Prop 13, 1978. When they were just raising property taxes up the kazoo. Well, we took care of that with Prop 13. Now they're going to insurance you out of your house. The catastrophe modeling. You should tell Richard Lara, the fruitcake insurance commissioner, who's been partying on our money, going off all over the place. Trips to the Caribbean. Shove it up your ass. This stuff is getting beyond ridiculous. The Harmony Haven foster care home is going to be on the agenda, 3.4, tomorrow at Riverside County Board of Supervisors. The grand jury report is coming out that has criticized that. Of course, Jackie McCrae has been down there in public comments, going about this, it seems like for decades, but many years, among others. It's a sad report, but them not having the cops there, or not wanting the cops there, grand jury's investigating that. We shall see how this works out tomorrow, but the grand jury was not happy about that. More to follow. CIA Chief Brennan, Comey, and Clinton could be indicted, said Ratcliffe, the CIA director. We only need to change one letter in that. Take the could from should. Brennan, Comey, Clinton should be indicted. Quit with the goofy, the mumbling mouth logic. Ratcliffe, tell Bondi up there at AG, get off your ass and indict these MFers. We need to clean this stuff up all across the board. Jose, this is going to be 3.3, the other big one, another big one down at the, no, 3.82 is Jose Medina's push to have a sheriff's oversight committee. If you want nothing done, form a committee. If you want to really screw it up, form a commission. We don't need no more suit. We have a We have a remedy for the sheriff, and it's called the ballot box. And we have public comments there and everything else. Sheriff Bianco is unfazed by calls for the oversight. So we'll see how that's 3.82 tomorrow, Riverside County Board of Supervisors, 9:30. You can do public comments, you can call in, go to the Riverside County Clerk of the Board website, and you will see how that works. Oh, Newsom's receiving criticisms over his recent sanctuary city policy comments. He's trying to back up from them. Oh, he's trying to blame somebody. Oh, the sanctuary state was in before I got in. This guy will chameleon everything to frickin' death. The appeals hearing from the ACLU's lawsuit on due process, saying ICE, the federal authorities, Trump administration, were just targeting illegals on that. The appeals hearing was today. Of course, expect within the next few days we'll see what the appeals court rules on that. That will be another one we're going to do. Dr. Kelly should be on at the bottom of the hour at 5:30, and more local news and everything else we will have. There's that funky slide guitar music that comes in every Monday through Friday. Live at 5 in the Evil Beat Network, Rumble X, YouTube, and the Roy Blacker channel. Crossed all that stuff. Hey, hopefully we went live on Rancho Cucamonga News Group. I Love San Bernardino by Robert Porter, along with Inland Empire Newswire, which is our group on the Facebook page, and iNewsWire on our community page. All that other stuff going on. Man, oh man, and just an update as I was coming in, or as I was just getting ready to go, in Manhattan, New York City, there's an active shooter, supposedly with a long rifle. A cop and one other's been shot. So we'll try to keep you up to date on that breaking story out of Manhattan. And that's no surprise. Manhattan is real. And that used to be, again, that was very ritzy. That was a high dollar area of New York City. And like here in Southern California, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Encino, and everything else, as we heard, it's going to pot. The absolutely 1,000% situation all across the board we find us in. Whether here in Riverside County, they're trying to, or Supervisor Jose Medina is trying to form a commission. Oh, we're going to go after Sheriff Chad and all this. Again, dumb. Asking for more government is what's going to ruin everything you've had. Oh, healthcare. We're going to cover everybody and make it cheaper. Can't read the bill until after we pass it. It's done 180 degrees the opposite. Healthcare costs are exploding in Riverside County and most counties, San Bernardino County. Health and Human Services are now 50% of the budget. That used to be police, fire, and roads and water systems. This stuff is absolutely going to kill us. More government is not going to solve anything. Whether you like the guy, and you can love Sheriff Chad, Gulag Gavin Newsom, Donald Trump, Nancy Pelosi, Hakeem Jeffries, Reyes, Ricardo Lara, or the whole lot of them. Your local guys, Baby G, Mayor Baby Jesus here in Marina Valley. Whomever, love them or hate them. Kurt Hagman, supervisor in San Bernardino, love them or hate them. But the more you put government in charge of your schools, look at the disaster in California. The more government has got into schools, the more the federal government or the state government has taken away control of your local school board and mandate this and don't do that. Can't do this. You know, that money that comes from the federal government comes from us at the point of a gun through the federal government of the state to your schools or police department or roads or anything else, comes with strings attached. And you're depending on somebody 400 miles away if you're in the inland part of the state, or 3,000 miles away in the District of Criminals, to make a decision who's best for you. And people that live in Wheeling, West Virginia, or Biloxi, Mississippi, or Truth or Consequences, New Mexico. You're going to let them make a decision for you. You're going to let Gulag Gavin Newsom run the show in California. Look, he's backing up on the sanctuary state thing. Even ABC 10, which hardly, even though I think they're in Sacramento or they're in San Francisco, lapdogs, and I'm being very nice, everything Gulag Gavin Newsom does, saying, you know, now he's out of state. Notice he's in Tennessee and Texas and saying, well, now, you know, that sanctuary state thing was passed before I got into office. I had to deal with it. You know, you could have put it up and said, hey, put it up before the legislature and said, hey, we're eliminating this. We're going to cooperate with ICE. We're going to cooperate with law enforcement officers everywhere. We're going to keep criminals off the streets. You're going to let a lying sack of crap like that sit there or double talk everything. It's horrendous. Yet, we keep voting for these guys and letting them in at every point. Here is that ABC 10 report. You know, I think maybe the Mockingbird stupid media is getting a little nervous with Donald J. in. Because I guarantee you, they would have never, in the 20 plus years, 21 now, I think, Newsom's been in elected office, from mayor of San Francisco to governor of California. They'd have never ran a story like this, ever, for any reason.
I go ahead and bring in ABC 10's Jeannie Nguyen. She's joining us live in studio with what was said and also how the governor is responding tonight. Jeannie.
Alex, the governor held a press conference this afternoon about redistricting in Texas. After multiple attempts to try to get him to clarify in person, his press office is responding to us tonight.
I inherited, just as I inherited sanctuary policy at the state, that the legislature wants to continue to change. As mayor, I inherited sanctuary policy when I got sworn in, and it was too permissive. And I closed a loophole as it relates to coordinating with ICE upon arrest. I'm happy to advocate for eliminating sanctuary policy.
It's these remarks on a recent podcast that have some Republicans.
I'm happy to advocate for, and I made one slight correction to it. Oh, we should just bow down to Gulag Gavin Newsom. Oh, praise. You let vagrants run in the street, you let illegals have more rights than citizens of California and the United States. Oh, but you're allowing, you know, if if he's a Jeffrey Dahmer axe murderer, yes, we will let ICE come in and arrest him before we put him back in the street. It's called a detainer. A detainer is, and they scan it all over. Cops got all the network technology and all that. Jose Jimenez is being held in the San Francisco County Jail. Whatever. Could be on a loitering charge, if there's even such a thing anymore. They can say, hey, we've got federal charges. We want to arrest him. When you release him, we want to pick him up. We want to pick him up in the jails, which is much safer. No, California says, release the asshole. And you guys got to go into the community and do it. And they said, well, fine. We're going to go into the community. You know, Juanita and Jose and whoever are here illegally or doing other things. Any other illegal things they're going to. Again, this all started with Special Order 40 back in 1980 with Daryl Gates, who many thought was a very conservative, in a lot of positions he was, police chief of LA. He started sanctuary cities and states. Special Order 40 was the first one out in the city of Los Angeles. Started with a very conservative, supposedly Republican, Daryl Gates, police chief. Said, if you call in for a crime, we're not going to do this. If we're not going to check your immigration status, no, nothing to do. So they'll report crimes, which on its face sounded nice, except we have let it balloon into cities and states protecting illegals who are criminals and in jail, and not letting them being detained after they've been released from the county lockup or state prison to federal officials if they have charges on them.
Leaders in California calling on Governor Gavin Newsom to end sanctuary policy.
We're ready to do that, Gavin. We will introduce some language tomorrow. We'll get it inserted into a bill.
The Assembly Republicans' social media video went on to say that the state's sanctuary policies impact Border Patrol's job. On Friday, Governor Newsom and a group of Democratic leaders from Texas held a press conference to discuss redistricting. ABC 10 tried to ask him to clarify his remarks on immigration multiple times with no success.
Governor, a question about immigration.
A spokesperson for the governor pointed out that his whole response on the podcast was not used, clarifying that California would not need these types of laws if Congress did their job to push comprehensive immigration reform.
Oh, shut up! Remember they said, we couldn't close the border? The whole 4 years in the Biden administration. That was the left-wing Democratic communist line. Oh, we can't do nothing. We can't do zero. Zero can be done. We can't do this. We can't close the border. We can't do nothing. Trump shut it off immediately. Within a month or two, zero crossings. Zero illegal crossing. Zero. Not 200,000 a month, 300,000 a month, 150,000 a month. Shut up. Quit lying. Izzy, that a-hole, whoever does on his Twitter thing, under the governor's press office, she must be a neurotic psycho chick to the max. And Newsom's letting it go, so she's printing it under his name, so he's authorizing it. This stuff has to end. No, you're misquoting. Then why don't you come in and answer what the hell does it mean? Oh, well, this policy was in before I got in. And I changed one little aspect, a very small, of 1/10 of 1% of the criminals that are locked up in our jails that the feds want. And you're supposed to just bow down to me. Didn't misquote him. Not in the context, it was in perfect context.
Form, adding that the state law helps ensure that all Californians are not scared of reporting crimes to the police. Political analysts say the governor's recent comments on sanctuary policies may start to confuse his Democratic colleagues.
I think a lot of Democrats in the state of California are going to be confused because
No, they shouldn't be confused. They should look in the mirror. Everyone that voted for Gavin Newsom, you should look in the mirror and explain yourself. Why you're supporting a lying sack of crap and making your communities unsafe, raising your gas prices to the highest and electricity prices to the highest in the nation and going higher. Insurance, like we had in the intro, the insurance con, catastrophic modeling. Most of the that fire deal they got, insurance, state's the last rep, 80% of the policies are not even in fire areas. Do not let government get into, like Reagan said, government that governs best governs least. We only need them to do public safety, keep the roads and the water systems working properly, functioning. I'd even say at this point, we need to get governments completely out of education. At a minimum, return things to local control. If you live in a crap city and you want stupid kids educated, then that's your right to live in that city. But don't force that on all the citizens of the state of California or the nation. We're forcing our stupid education policies all across the nation and everything else, energy policy, fiscal policy, crime policy. Again, I've said many times, don't let the cancer of California spread across the rest of the nation. Here's from way back in the day. President Reagan was on the Carson Show. Had something to say about this. Here we go.
Different answers as to what is going wrong in the country. Some people say, well, let's let the government spend billions of dollars. And then other people say, no more federal spending. Let's give the tax rebates. And the other intelligent people say, no tax rebates. We've got to do this and do that. So everybody is confused. How do you see the thing?
Nobody's confused. Nobody should be confused. Mind you, this is 50 or 40 years ago. We thought we had it bad back then. Holy cow. It's like a cakewalk. Let's get Mr. Reagan's answer.
How are we going to get out of this?
Well, Johnny, I think that one of the things is that people keep looking to government for the answer, and government's the problem.
We haven't learned this in 40 years. We have let government infect our lives 152 times. Look at New York City, Manhattan. Other than the Giuliani, it's gotten worse. Now they're shooting at cops. They got twice as many per capita or more cops in New York City than LA. There's cops all over the place if you go to New York City. Yet it's all these stupid government policies. Vagrants running the streets. Now you got this ding-dong that wants to bring straight-ass communism, dictatorship to New York City, and watch them elect that clown.
A moment ago, you asked, about people and feeling not only confused, but low and down in America. First of all, the American people, if they would just take a little inventory and look around, you triple our troubles, and we're better off than any other people on earth. And we've asked so much of government, and we've gotten...
This is the point. Even as bad as it is in the US of A, since that 40 years ago, we still have to thank our lucky stars we were born and are in the greatest country in the history of the world. Let's not let it slip away.
In the habit over the last 40 years of thinking the government has the answers. There's very little that government can do as efficiently and as economically as the people can do themselves. And if government would shut the doors and sneak away for about 3 weeks, we'd never miss them.
This is why we should have government shutdown and not be afraid of it. Let's get our act together. 10,000%. Holy bleeping cow. Some of the things that we see on a daily basis are absolutely out of control. The whole deal with the Russiagate. Putin's trying to get Trump elected in 2016. It was all fabricated. It wasn't fabricated by Hillary. Hillary just paid for it because he didn't want the government fingerprints on the Steele dossier. So Hillary paid for it through the campaign. Brennan and company put it up before that, said, oh, this is factual 100%. Everybody in the CIA said it's BS. We have no, not even no credible evidence, no evidence that this is going on. Brennan, Comey, Strunk, Page, Clapper, the deep state all said we were going with it anyway because Obama said do it. We got to have Hillary. We got to stop Trump. Again, that's what the whole Mar-a-Lago search was for. They were looking for the documents that finally Tulsi Gabbard, the great former congresswoman from Hawaii, now director of intelligence for the United States of America in the Trump administration, found the documents. This needs to change. Only one letter. CIA chief.
30 seconds, 30 seconds.
Comey and Clinton should be indicted. Not could, should. Jesse said. We'll be on 30 seconds or so. The Mighty Met KMET. Hopefully Dr. Kelly will call in. And we'll proceed with the rest of the show. It'll be fun. We're going to clean this crap up. No other choice.
2 seconds. Here we go.
IE Newswire Daily is on the air.
The following is a paid program. Views and claims expressed are those of the program producer and are not endorsed by this station. Opinions expressed are not necessarily those of radio station KMET, its management, employees, or
There's that funky slide guitar music that comes on every Monday through Friday live at 5:30 on the Mighty Met, 1490 AM, broadcasting all over the Inland Empire and the former today, and Ben, join our vast video audience in the Evil P Network, Rumble X, Roy Blackard on the YouTube. Check us out, subscribe, do all that good stuff. On that, Newsom's trying to back up in the sanctuary city policy. Just trying to say, well, it was in before I was in. Shut up. Everybody who's voted for that clown or supported him in the last 21 years he's been in elective office, don't be confused, you're not. You know you've been voting for and following and praising a lying sack of ish. This is the 942,7,000th time. We've had a crime wave going on. They're busting the auto zones and 7-Elevens. What's the weird thing that they only keep going after those? That convenience store and that auto parts store. Jewelry stores getting hit. Road rage going on. Cars exploding. Just had reports of a cop being shot in Manhattan of New York. Which is not surprising. They're on pace to elect a communist as mayor. That's how bad that place, the once supposedly greatest city in the world, has now turned to total you-know-what. All this, we'll get to the local news in a bit, but as we usually do on a Monday, we have, as I've determined her, the supreme physician in all the world, expert on COVID-19 and just about everything else, Dr. Kelly Victory. Welcome to iNewsWire with Roy.
Hey, great to be with you as always. And I got to tell you, Roy, when you look at any of these Democrat-run cities, you've got to wonder what people are thinking when they go to the ballot box. Why do you keep voting for these people who turn your cities into hellholes and allow your states to become just absolute third world countries? I don't get it.
Look at California. Highest gas prices in the nation, electricity, roads falling apart, costs us twice as much per mile to build a freeway in California, and then they won't even build them, like the Hollywood Freeway. After 20 years, they gave up. No water projects after we passed a $7 billion bill, the latest one to build more. Nothing. And they keep voting for this clown. And then today he comes up and says, well, I didn't vote for that. I didn't put the sanctuary state policy in. He's been hammering us for 7 years now of how great it is and this and that. And us white hillbillies are out there just looking to shoot every Mexican in town. Stuff has got to stop, Dr. Kelly.
No, it's true. Listen, and it's not just in California, Roy. I mean, it just, we've got stabbings in the local Walmart and people being, punched out, knocked out cold in Ohio. People are being attacked all over this country. And there's one common thing. And it's that they are the states, municipalities, the cities that are run and ruled by Democrats. These liberal progressive policies that have done everything from fail to crack down on and, really employ the laws regarding illegal immigration, those places that have allowed criminals to get away without bail, those places that have, failed to see that recidivism is a problem, those places that have, not allowed parents to actually play their proper role, all of these things. We are in a downward spiral in ever-tightening circles. It is not a good thing, and we've got to get our arms around this. President Trump can do just so much. A lot of this has got to happen on the local level.
1,000%. I mean, we've let government get so big. We played a clip earlier. Reagan 40 years ago was saying this on the Carson show, for crying out loud. We're 10 times more government control on all this other stuff. But I want to get to the healthcare thing because this is another reason, and Trump brought it out. We're going to play a clip here in a second of that. But remember, 10 years ago, Obamacare and Nancy Pelosi, we're going to cover everybody. It's going to be cheaper. It's going to be utopia. Healthcare is going to be free for everybody. Nobody's going to pay for anything. The absolute absurdity of that, now we're paying more for less care and everything else. This is another thing Trump came up with. And the drug price, this is another thing that's huge. As much as healthcare has went up, drug prices are severely out of control. Here's Trump on his clip. Here we go.
Even though the United States is home to only 4% of the world's population, pharmaceutical companies make more than 2/3 of their profits in America. So think of that. With 4% of the population, the pharmaceutical companies make most of their money, most of their profits from America.
I've got to say, and my theory is, and that's why I want to run it by you. Look, when the first thing that's done this, Obamacare passing, and then they put it on steroids with the COVID con, Dr. Kelly.
Well, there's so much to unpack here. First of all, Obamacare was always intended to be the quickest pathway to socialized medicine. They wanted universal health care. They wanted it to be very similar to what they have in the UK or in Canada, and they thought that Obamacare was the way to do it. They sold it to the American people by a big fat lie, saying that it was going to drive down healthcare costs. You remember the consummate lie, if you like your doctor, you can keep them. That wasn't true. It actually drove healthcare costs up for everyone, but the intention of it was to fundamentally land us in universal healthcare, socialized medicine. Then you take what's happening right now with the drug costs. The United States bears far the brunt of the burden of healthcare costs pharmaceutical costs when it comes to research, marketing, and all of that. We pay in orders of magnitude over what they pay in other countries. And President Trump is right to target that and say no more. We are not going to fund the development of these drugs for everybody else to benefit and take it on the chin. Then, the COVID con, oh my gosh, COVID was a pandemic, whatever you want to call it, scamdemic. The bottom line was, it was a way to use fear to manipulate and control people in order to get them to do what the government wanted, and fundamentally to get one of these mRNA shots in everyone's arm to prove that they could do it. We cannot allow that to happen again. Every day I'm looking for the next fear fest. What's it going to be? Zika virus, monkeypox, bird flu, whatever it is, screwworm, that's the newest one. What are they going to come up with? Exactly.
The things that flashed through my mind when you said that.
Exactly, right, exactly. Believe me. No, it's unbelievable. It would be laughable if it weren't so terrifying, primarily, Roy, because a goodly percentage of the population will fall for it again. They will once again say, well, we're being told blank, and I don't want my child or my family to come down with this dreaded disease. So think about the people who stopped eating eggs because they thought it was somehow associated, eggs come from birds and bird flu is, a problem, so I won't eat it. Like, oh my God, it is really terrifying. So I think that we really are at a point where everything that comes out of the mouth of politicians and the experts when it comes to health and public health really is suspect at this point. And you need to look through it with a very, very fine-tooth comb.
1,000%. Kind of staying on the pharmaceutical themes, like breaking it down to the pharmacy level. There's only one state in the nation that doesn't have a Walgreens. And we had the old thrifties, Rite Aids went broke. Walgreens financials, if you ask most financial experts, are even in worse shape than Rite Aid of that. This is the article that we have. The reason is North Dakota, which is that state, basically has a state law, which the Supreme Court backed up, saying you couldn't have these big conglomerates in there. So their failure rate on pharmaceutical businesses is like half of that of the average of the other 49 states. And this is a problem. This is, again, points out the fallacy of big government. Bigger is always better. No, it isn't. And when you let 3 or 4 companies determine whether your drugs are coming for, who's selling you the drugs, where your banking's done, and most anything else, you're in a heap of trouble. Competition breeds more for everyone at a better price. And if we don't get that through our head, we are going to flush the greatest country in the history of the world down the toilet, Dr. Kelly.
Absolutely. Let me tell you, not only is, bigger and more not always better, it's generally far worse. Let's look at it. I've got a lot to say about Walgreens. I know that company intimately. I sold one of my companies to Walgreens a couple decades ago. And if you are a pharmacy, you are a health and wellness company that also sells cigarettes, okay? You sell cartons of cigarettes right next to the pharmacy. What do you really think they are invested in your health and wellness? No, they are vendors. They are retailers. They will just as happily sell you a bag of Cheetos or a box of Pampers or a carton of cigarettes as they will sell you your insulin. And they are not out to protect you. So while people used to believe that these big box stores had buying power and could drive the cost down, instead, they have driven the costs up because they lure people in with the promise of being able to be one-stop shopping. You can not only get your, carton of cigarettes, as I said, and your box of Pampers and, whatever else you need, your can of Raid or whatever else you were shopping for while you pick up your antibiotics, but they are not looking out for you. We have got to go back to where we really allow competition to reign. And one of the other things that happened during COVID is that the government chose winners and losers. You may recall the mom and pop shops got shut down. The nail salons were shut down. Small restaurants shut down. While at the same time, Walmart, Walgreens, Kmart, they were all open for business. Okay, you could go to the liquor store or the pot store, but you couldn't go to church. The government picked winners and losers. Again, we've got to pay attention to this. They determine what will flourish and what will fail. And we have got to bring it back to the people and say to the government, you do not have a say-so in this. You are not pulling the levers. That is not in the Constitution, and we are not going to allow it.
My hometown, native area, still here, Moreno Valley, California. We're now 200,000. 50, 60 years ago, we were about 10,000. We had one pharmacy, Rexall Drugs. And that's a base, well, they might have had a pack of chewing gum in there or something, but basically, it was just a pharmacy. You went in there, you knew the dude who was doing that. If you had questions or something, he had plenty of time, because there wasn't 27 people standing in line wanting this, drive-thrus and everything else. Maybe one other person would be in there. And if you put in your prescription, when you had to take it in, you say, okay, 30 minutes or so or whatever it was, or if he was really busy, maybe an hour, come back and you can get your stuff, whatever. And then, like I said, if you had any questions about the medication, if he had to spend 15 minutes with you, that's what it was. Now it's like a cattle call coming in. Like you say, and you got to wait this and that in line and 27 people. And you can see the people back in the pharmacy at these chain stores. They're running around like chickens with their head cut off, trying to do all this stuff of that. Even of that, look at how many more mistakes are going in. And when you're dealing with pharmaceuticals, you really don't need that. This is why we need to get back to more of how we used to do it before, which wasn't perfect. But it was a hell of a lot better than what we got going on today, Dr. Kelly.
I agree. And another thing I might mention in my own personal experience and the experience of many, many of my colleagues, during COVID, it was the big box pharmacies, Walmart, Walgreens, Rite Aid. They were the ones that were not allowing patients to fill prescriptions for things like ivermectin. They were overstepping their bounds. They were refusing to fill legitimate prescriptions written by licensed physicians like myself for drugs that are FDA approved, like ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, whatever else. And they had the audacity, and unfortunately they had the power because of their corporate power and their corporate clout to simply say we wouldn't fill a prescription. These small pharmacies, family-run pharmacies, compounding pharmacies all did the right thing and said, this is a prescription written by a physician. This is a legitimate prescription, and my job is to fill it because the relationship between the doctor and the patient is none of my business. And I'm telling you, those big box pharmacies so overstepped their bounds. The fact that people didn't go to prison truly is beyond me.
Robert Kennedy Jr. said is getting the woke out of cancer screenings. Here's ABC7 clip. Here we go.
Trump administration Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is planning to oust all members of a task force that recommends which health services, such as details of cancer screenings and HIV drugs, must be covered by insurance. And sources tell ABC News that Kennedy views the group as too, quote, woke. A spokesperson for the Department of
Why in the hell
Health and Human
would you? This is almost amazing of how it gets to the point that there shouldn't have never been woke in anything in government for any reason, especially our health of anything, Dr. Kelly.
Exactly. And the bottom line is, as I said, the relationship between the patient and the physician is sacrosanct. The government was never invited into the exam room. They have so overstepped their bounds between the insurance companies, the government, the media, everybody who's got an opinion. The bottom line is physicians and patients have a relationship in which that no one else was invited to participate in. And they should be making decisions based on clinical judgment, as well as the desires of the patient, the risk behaviors of the patient, whether or not the patient wants to participate in certain things. And we have got to keep the government, the media, politicians, insurance companies, pharmaceutical companies out of that mix. They were never invited in, and we've got to get back to where we were, honestly, 50, 60 years ago, where the decisions were made by the two people who are included in the conversation, and that is the patient and the physician and the patient's family, if that patient so chooses.
Got a couple minutes left. Anything else our audience should know about?
No, I'm watching very closely what's happening with Bobby Kennedy and the work that he's continuing to do with regard to cleaning up our food system. It looks like he is making, headway, small wins, but they're good overall. Replacing corn syrup with cane sugar in Coca-Cola. It still makes it, soda, and still makes it sugar, which isn't good for you, but at least it's a better version of sugar. He's getting artificial colorings and dyes out of foods, continuing to educate people about those things, hoping to clean up the food stamp system and what people are allowed to buy with federal subsidies. Obviously, the elephant in the room is whether or not we are going to ever get rid of the mRNA vaccines. I doubt it, but that doesn't mean he's not doing meaningful work on vaccines. He has finally announced that we are going to once and for all get rid of any mercury in a vaccine. It's, shocking to me that we could even still be talking about the idea of including mercury in vaccines, but lo and behold, we are. But Bobby Kennedy has vowed to get rid of that entirely in the next 2 years. No vaccines will contain mercury, and shortly thereafter, I think they will eliminate aluminum, which is another problem in vaccines. So these things, unfortunately, don't happen nearly as quickly as they would in the private sector, because as you were intimating earlier, Roy, government always is slower than everybody else. They are inefficient and top-heavy, so things don't happen quickly, but they are happening, and overall, I think we are moving the needle in the right direction.
Thanks for being on, Dr. Kelly. We'll do this again soon.
Sounds great. Thanks, Roy.
Dr. Kelly, victory, as we say, saying it only as she can. Did I hear that right? Was it screw worm? The people. Oh, man. Couple things on the agenda 3.3. There's going to be a grand jury report, two of them, 3.3, on what went on with what's going on in the jails in Riverside County, at the Riverside County Board of Supervisors tomorrow at 9:30. Very important issue that's going to draw a lot of speakers, I presume. 3.4, the grand jury report on the Harmony home, which was a complete disaster for foster kids. On top of the House of Horrors down there in Paris, and all the other people have come up. It's another very important item. 3.82, I believe it is. Jose Medina wants to have a committee to look at oversight over the sheriff, yada, yada, yada. First, that's BS. Again, more government control, more layers, none of that. We elected Chad Sheriff. You don't like him? Well, you can't hardly recall him because Gavin Newsom in the legislature basically repealed the horse pool rule, which came from Moreno Valley, which made it much more sensible and effective So live by it. Because most of you that want this stuff, or these committees or oversight, or think government's going to do that, you're the ones that have screwed this stuff up. And you voted for these clowns that have done it. We'll see how the debate goes tomorrow, 9:30. You can check them out on their Facebook page, Riverside County Clerk of the Board, Rivco TV, or show up. You can call in, go to the Clerk of the Board, Riverside County website, ask them. 95 Board of Supervisors numbers, 951-955, and then the last four digits go to 1010, 1020, 1030, 1040, 1050, and the last digit is your district guy or gal in Karen Spiegel's case. So get out there, get after it, pay attention to what's going on in your local areas where you can have much more effect. On with some of the local genre, River Valley cops. Sutton Pop teams busted on a traffic stop 30 fentanyl pills along with methamphetamine and psychedelic mushrooms. Who knew this would happen in Rupa Valley? I'm shocked. Chino Hills, U.S. Representative Young Kim is going to have mobile office hours every Wednesday at the Community Center in Chino Hills. So check that out. Area Commander meeting, Area 2 in Fontana. So if you want to check that out with the cops tomorrow or Thursday, July 29th, have at it. Oh, let's see. Oh, Cliff Cummings. Toyota San Bernardino made a big donation for a motor officer unit at the San Bernardino Police Department. So good job, Cliff, and all the guys and gals of Toyota San Bernardino who are behind me on the banner behind us. Riverside County Probation Department rolls out a mobile service. I thought that's why we hired cops and Now we got to have an overgrown ice cream truck. I can just imagine what that cost us. Probably $250,000. There's Temecula Valley back in the 20s, over 100 years ago. Quite a difference. Inmate death prompts investigation at Inland Empire Jail. Of course, they always prompt an investigation. This is the West Valley Jail in Rancho Cucamonga of that, not Riverside County. Yet every inmate death prompts an investigation. It's a big hooroo. Again, jurors found fault with practices of Harmony Haven, which houses children waiting foster placement. This was in Beaumont. That's a disaster. And again, Jackie McCrae has been pointing this out down at the Board of Supervisors for years now, and others, but she's been the main one. Lots of activities to do in Hemet, the cops point out. So just don't say there's nothing to do. Go check them out. Lots of good things to do in Hemet, along with the CSOs who were assisting in evacuating some of the people out. Community service officer are not, well, community service officer twos are non-sworn officers. They can drive the cars, they can transport, they can do paperwork, investigations even. They're just non-sworn officers means you don't carry a gun. But they become a lot cheaper and they can do a lot of things that cops don't necessarily need to do at a cheaper rate to get our public safety costs down or expand them however you want to look at it. Marietta motor officer found another dude on a bike going 110, or that's what he clocked him at, as he said. Cabazon was a quaking. Two back-to-back 3.1 earthquakes just north of Cabazon today. And that'll do it for the locale genre. Again, lots of stuff. grand jury investigation reports. The ACLU, host Supervisor Medina and the crew are going to be after Sheriff Chad again. And I don't believe justifiably. They're going to be down there talking about, oh, we want to turn the 1,200 jails that have been occupied, that have not been occupied down in Indio, in the Indio jail. Oh, we want to make them hotels for the homeless. No. We need to open those up. Sheriff Chad put in the Sharp, under Sheriff, put the budget up there so we can do it now. No excuses. The Fab Five up there voted it down. On a $10 billion budget. The mistreatment of the foster kids is just beyond criminal and heartbreaking in Riverside County. No more committees and commissions. The dudes that are elected, do your freaking job. That'll do it for today. As we usually say at this time, mandatory you're back here every 3 hours wide. You're the best darn show in the whole wide world. Until then, see ya.
All right, I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Got it.